Well, this has been the treaty that definitely faces rough seas. Has been the case from the beginning. Rotterdam Treaty, so-called United Nations Convention on Contracts for the International Carriage of Goods, wholly or partly by sea. It's a big name, but it has been just that, the big name only. He adopted in 2008, but yet to be ratified by the sufficient number of countries. Opened by signature 2009, only 5 countries have ratified it. Look at the number of countries, except for Spain, others are smaller nations. You need 20 countries to bring it into law. So Rotterdam is definitely in the rough seas. But it's an important treaty, by the way. The purpose for which has the treaty came up has been genuinely good because uh, the carriage of goods by the sea has some problems. Take a look at one. The modernized and unify international law governing carriage of goods by the sea. We got Hague, we got Hague Visby, we got Hamburg. Different countries go for different rules, and most of these rules are rather old, at least 70 years old. Yeah, so there's a need to update them. We have a need to update them. And the fast changes that's happened, like containerization, multimodal transport. What's multimodal transport? That means not just the sea. We may be transporting the same goods by land and again in the sea. That kind of stuff doesn't come under Hague Visby. And electronic documents. Most of the earlier ones like Hague Visby, we need the paper documentation. There's no specific rule set for electronic documentation. And the other one is there is a need for single legal framework when you do the door-to-door transport with a sea leg. What's happening now is sea leg. We got Hague Visby for the door-to-door. Land once we have another law. So it is a mess of sorts in one way or the other. So the purpose of Rotterdam has been genuinely good to create some kind of formality, to develop or bring some regularization into 3 key rules that have been going on for the last 40, 50 years. So the intentions have been honest, but there are problems, such as now we talk about the problems facing Rotterdam later, but we talk about the problems facing the more popular ones, the Hague Visby or Hague Rules. Came from 1928 to 4, we developed in 68, right? The modern practices like the multimodal is not touched. It's a huge one. Plenty of transportation now goes through the multimodal transportation. And the rapid digitalization of shipping is not touched by Hague Visby. Again, a massive mess in that regard. So we needed one. So clear career liability was another one. Hague Visby kind of goes to the benefit of the career. But clear career liability in terms of receipt to delivery. That means right through the voyage rather than tackle to tackle. That means leg to leg is needed. Hague Visby doesn't provide it. Rotterdam was expected to increase the career liability to the more practical level. There are other important ones, the eliminate outdated carrier defenses. Technically, it's hard to file legal action against a carrier now. It's not easy to punish a carrier for negligent navigation. So Rotterdam was expected to cover that loophole and then create this single uniform global regime applicable for every nation rather than different nations coming with different things. And again, as I said, containerized transport, multi-leg transport to be coming under one legal sphere. However, it didn't work out. But let's take a look at the difference between Hague and Rotterdam. Hague goes for tackle to tackle, whereas second one is Rotterdam, right? Sea to multimodal, one leg, one way, one law. That's the game plan. And Hague Visby, electronic documents are not recognized, whereas Rotterdam recognized electronic documents. including electronic bills of lading. And career liability was very low in uh, Hague Visby, just SDR 667. And the career was exempt from management errors, navigational errors, negligence, not easy. As it has been to file legal action against a career under Hague Visby. Whereas, Rotterdam brought higher limits, 875 SDR. So that's a higher percentage of liability in terms of damage compensation. And the career's liability in negligence has been removed under Rotterdam. Any legal action by Hague Visby has to be done under 1 year, and only the traditional careers covered up, like the container traffic and all, was finding it difficult under um, Hague Visby. Rotterdam doubled it up 2 years, technically 100% increase. And it include the non-vessel operating careers like the freight forwarders and all that. So they were not owners of careers, but yeah, they were also made liable. Under Hague Visby, it never worked out. All right, so what are the advantages and disadvantages of the Rotterdam? Rotterdam advantage is that modern times you can get ready. We'll find out the disadvantages later. What are the advantages of Hague Visby? Well, the countries follow it, large number of do it, has been more popular. Not easy to change when a law has become more popular. Shippers' advantage for Rotterdam would be what? Again, the electronic documentation, multimodal transportation, careers. Well, the liability is increased, but uh, the need to go through different laws has been removed. So there are benefits for the careers, as we discussed. Disadvantages under Rotterdam. Couriers may not be happy with the high liabilities. Shippers, would need to be worried about, the negligence and other kind of damages because liabilities have been increased under Rotterdam. The global trade advantage is higher under Rotterdam. I can't find any disadvantages in global trade. Of course, there will be issues in insurance and rest. We'll discuss that later. Okay, then why are we still going for Hague Visby? Well, one thing is the Rotterdam text is too long, too complex, and it's not as simple as Hague, Visby, Hamburg, or whatever. And so it's very hard to adapt and implement in countries. And mind you, Hague, Visby, and Hamburg, a lot of these laws are in the national laws already. They're already incorporated into national law. Take a look at Sri Lanka. Almost the entirety of the Hague Visby rules are part and parcel of our national law, has been incorporated into our acts and the regulations are. Same goes for almost every country in the world. So if we are to change Hague Visby and Hamburg and go Rotterdam, we might need to change even the national laws in almost many countries. Not easy. But it's deeply embedded. 90% of the world trade covers it. So it's not easy to suddenly put a stop to that and go total, 90-degree turn. And there's a huge problem. Careers and the insurance may not like it. That's the money end, that's a happening in financially in this highly complex and lucrative shipping trade. Higher, level of liability is not something that the careers would be welcoming and not something that the insurance would be happy. So these are really powerful parties. So when they are not into something, it's highly unlikely that the countries that they represent may be willing to go against them. Maybe that could be the reason there were major trading nations still, right, are on the waiting game with regard to, the Rotterdam rules. So these are the issues. Created with a lot of fanfare, with much expectation. However, certain practical difficulties like getting insurers and the carriers on board, they were the most important parties in the global trade. So when the key parties are not exactly happy about a new law, it's extremely unlikely that countries would be going against their will. As a result, a well-intentioned law to create a global law, a single system, still far from reaching safe harbors.